Kyle Tucker going to the Dodgers. My goodness, I was right here at the desk working on something. My head's a little cut off. I apologize about that. But Kyle Tucker heading to the Dodgers. Do we have a three-peat on our hands? My goodness, what a move for the Dodgers. And I predicted this coming into the offseason. This was my big prediction. Kyle Tucker heading to the Dodgers. Who is going to stop the LA Dodgers? My goodness. Here we go. Let's get to it here. Man, oh man. And here we go. Jeff Passan. There it is. Breaking. Star outfielder Kyle Tucker and the LA Dodgers are in agreement on a free agent contract. Sources tell ESPN. And we also just got a trade as well. Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, and the Angels. Josh Lowe going to the Angels. I like that for them. Gavin Lux and Chris Clark going to the Rays. I mean, hey, Gavin Lux, I figured he was going to be on his way out. And then left-handed reliever Brock Burke to the Reds. I mean, can the Reds just add a freaking bat for crying out loud? Why is that so difficult for the Reds? I mean, I don't know what to say. Hopefully they can add a bat here. Got a super chat coming in. My goodness. First time. Well, we went live for Bregman the other night, and we have not been going live very much here on the channel, but absolutely need to go live for this one. This is going to be a beast of a lineup here. Let me pull up the Dodgers lineup here. There we go. Let's pull up Fangraphs. Let's see what we got cooking. We are cooking here, ladies and gentlemen. If you can, hit the like button. Share the show if you can. We are live reacting to Kyle Tucker heading to the Dodgers. And let's take a look. Let's see if Fangraphs has updated this. They have updated it. There it is. Kyle Tucker batting fourth for the LA Dodgers. Holy cow. What a move. What a move. I've been saying it all offseason. The Dodgers, if there was one spot they could upgrade, it was the outfield. Michael Conforto, he was a bust last year, did not work out. I thought it was a pretty slick move at the time. I'm thinking, oh man, the Dodgers, they've done well when it comes to getting more out of players, but it just didn't work out. And I was thinking to myself, listen, the Dodgers, they're just going to hang around. They've won 2 straight World Series. That's all the marketing they need. Well, obviously, Ohtani, that's a pretty nice draw as well. They didn't need to go out there and pursue anyone. You know, sure, yeah, Edwin Diaz, there was another spot to upgrade on the team. They needed some more consistency at the closer role. They got it figured out this past year. So Edwin Diaz, they went after him and they got him. But for Kyle Tucker, you know, they had other options within the organization, right? You know, they could have gone to, you know, someone in the minors. We got a couple of guys coming up in the Dodgers system. But if you really wanted an upgrade, here it is, Kyle Tucker. So the Dodgers, the reports that we had been hearing is they were interested in a short-term deal. And for Tucker, the one thing I kept wondering about as the offseason went on, the more time that went by and he didn't get a deal, I'm thinking, you know what? He might just take a short-term deal. And why not the Dodgers, a team that sells itself, going for a three-peat this year? Why not just take a short-term deal with a high AAV, go win a World Series, and then you could opt out? I'm not sure what the details of the contract are. I don't know if it's going to be an opt-out after the first year. The second year, we're still awaiting details. And this is going to be very interesting. My 8258. Someone hacked Passan. I don't think so. We got a super chat coming in. The CBA talks are going to get ugly next offseason. A strike seems inevitable at this point. Question is for MLB, will this turn into another 1994? For me personally, I think there's just too much at stake. There's too much money being made. There's too much when it comes to the ratings. You know, you look at how the ratings have been doing when it comes to postseason baseball. It's been great. Sure, there's always a chance you could have some kind of a lockout, right? I thought it was a lot worse. You know, things seemed so tense the last time around. And, you know, they got it figured out in time. Hopefully they can figure it out this time as well. Conman, $14.95, $5 super chat. I'm at least glad the Yankees or Blue Jays didn't get him. But, man, this move is just going to make next year's lockout even worse. You know, I could see a lot of people panicking here. But, you know, in the end, you know, the Blue Jays, they could have gotten this done if they wanted to. They could have gotten the long-term deal. But in the end, they just didn't want to put the money down. They had a certain value on him. I'm waiting to see what the contract offer was from the Blue Jays. And you know, for the Blue Jays, they've had an incredible offseason. I'm imagining they were offering something at least around 10 years. Was it 10 years or more? Maybe a little bit less. I'm not so sure. But, you know, there have been some concerns when it comes to the injuries, right? He's been a little dinged up the last couple of years. So there were some question marks. And there was also another thing that's been floating around this offseason. I mean, how much does he actually care about the game? I don't know about that one. The numbers speak for themselves with Kyle Tucker. I mean, he's averaged right around a 4.5 to a 5 wins above replacement over the last several years here. Whatever, I'm not so sure how much of a thing that is, but you know what? The guy absolutely produces every single year, even if he's going through injuries. This past year with the Cubs, more of a picture-friendly park he was having to work with, so the power did go a little bit down, along with injuries. 22 home runs this past year. You take a look at the metrics, right? The hard hit percentage went down. The average exit velo went down a little bit. So, I think he was, if I remember correctly, it was something with the calf. He had a fracture in the hand at one point in the second half. So, I think he was dealing with that along, just with dealing with the confines, right? But overall, this is a great get. Great get for the Dodgers, man. I mean, what else is there to say? You know what? I've said this time and time again over the last couple of years. This is a team that has completely revamped their organization going back over the last 10 years or so, right? They built from within. They got their international signings good to go, all right? They had a lot of front office turnover. They got the right people in place to get the organization turned around, right? You saw how the Dodgers were, right? The early 2010s, mid 2010s, they were trying to get things turned around there. International signings, they weren't doing a great job there. They've really revamped pretty much everything, the minor league development, the scouting. This is what they've become, man. And you know what? Other teams, they're trying to figure it out. That's why the Dodgers are the blueprint for a lot of teams out there, right? For pretty much every team out there. Everyone's trying to figure out how the Dodgers are getting this done in the big market they're in. Sure, you want to bring up the CBA, right? All those talks that are going to be coming up here. I'm sure there's going to be something figured out when it comes to, talks of a cap, talks of a floor. I'm sure there's going to be something when it comes to, markets and whatnot. I don't know. I'm not really an expert on that kind of stuff. I don't really know what to say about that. But the Dodgers, you know what? They've built this up, man. And they're kind of one of those, they're an organization that doesn't really need to sell themselves. They've been there. They've done that for the last couple of years now, right? They have been the blueprint for baseball. And all they had to do was sit around and wait back. Or sit back and wait around. My goodness, my brain's not working. But really big fan of this move. Kyle Tucker going to the Dodgers. We got about 1,400 people here in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Carlos, $2 super chat. Striking 2027 incoming. I'm not really focused so much on that, man. I'm focused on what we got here. This is the Yankees. This is the Yankees of, the late 90s, early 2000s. This is exactly what the Yankees did, right? They were a juggernaut. They were adding everyone. Go back, to that pre-2004, A-Rod, Gary Sheffield, right? They were bringing in guys left and right on top of what they already had, with Derek Jeter, A-Rod, Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada. It was a juggernaut then. I witnessed that firsthand as a Red Sox fan, and this is the modern day evil empire, just the West Coast version, in the end, this is great for the Dodgers, right? Now the question is, where did the Blue Jays and the Mets go? To me, for the Blue Jays, it felt more like a luxury, it felt like the Blue Jays didn't really need yes, it would have been great for them if they could have done it, but they've had such a great offseason up to this point, already had a good team in place. So for the Blue Jays, do they go out there, and try to make another move? Do they, could this open up the possibility of Bo Bichette coming back? Could you figure something out there? I'm just saying. I do think Kyle Tucker was the cleaner fit because you have Ernie Clement, who I think is extremely underrated, a great defender over there. He can play second base. He can handle an everyday job. I don't know. Do they bring back Bo now? Now that they have, obviously Tucker going to the Dodgers, they have that money to spend here. They were ready to give it for Tucker. Do they go to Bichette? Maybe. Maybe they could figure out a reunion. The Phillies are coming on strong. Right, they got a juggernaut over there when it comes to their sales pitch for Bichette. Right, you got Dave Dombrowski, you got John Middleton, a two-headed monster running the show. John Middleton with the money. Dave Dombrowski with the convincing. You got Don Mattingly in the fold as well. I mean, what a great sales pitch in that itself. You know, you got a good team over there in Philly. But you know what? Could the Blue Jays come to the table and say, hey, listen, I know we were involved in the rumors for Tucker, all right? I know, but listen, we still really like you. We'll see. If not, you know, I do really like this Blue Jays team as is. I am very curious to see how far they went, though. Really liking to look at the Blue Jays. I think if there's anywhere they could add, besides if they wanted to add one more bat, I think the bullpen could definitely be an option here. We'll see. You know, you still got some decent guys out there. Could they have a reunion with Sir Anthony Dominguez? Jeff Hoffman, he was very iffy last year. I wonder if they make some kind of a move there. But let's take a look at the Mets. You know, the Mets, they were in strong pursuit, hot pursuit. And I felt like Tucker, they needed to make a splash. You know, they feel more so of the same. They've been doing a lot of reshuffling here in Queens. You know, Pete Alonso, Edwin Diaz, gone. You know, you bring in a couple other guys, a couple of guys to replace Diaz in the bullpen, Devin Williams, Luke Weaver in the lineup, Jorge Polanco. You swapped out Brandon Nimmo for Marcus Semien. Who knows what the bat is going to look like with Semien. He'll definitely improve the defense there at second base. Great up-the-middle duo with Lindor and Semien. You know, they've been trying to improve this clubhouse chemistry, trying to shuffle things up, shake things up over there. But I still feel like you need another bat. I like Jorge Polanco in the season that he had this past year. But with Pete Alonso, that was so much production. So, you know, I feel like you could still use another bat. And you take a look at the outfield for the Mets. As of right now, Tyrone Taylor is projected to be the everyday center fielder. I do really like Carson Bangs. Look out for Carson Bangs this coming year. Very good metrics down to the minors. I really like him. I think he could be an everyday option. Who knows? Maybe opening day. I'm not so sure. But I think he'll have at least a shot to break camp. But you feel like you need someone out there in center field. So if we're looking here, at least someone, even if you brought in a lefty bat, you know, to go with Tyrone Taylor, I'm not sure which direction they go. I'm sure Mets fans will tell me all about it. But if you really, I mean, listen, let's move on to the next subject here. This really opens up the market now for Cody Bellinger. I think, you know, the Yankees, they've been trying to figure this out for Bellinger for a little bit now, right? Seems like Bellinger, he wants, I think the reports were saying right around 7 years, maybe a little bit more. I think I saw one report at some point he wanted like, like 300 million or 400 million. What was that report that was out there a while ago? It was nonsense. But with Bellinger, I think the reports lately have been saying, 7 years, 210, but it seems like the Yankees don't want to commit to the years. So could the Mets get aggressive here? Now that they don't have Tucker, I mean, they were looking to get Tucker on a shorter deal, but, could they turn their attention to Bellinger? But would they be willing to go the length that he's looking for? I definitely think he could be a pivot at this point. The Yankees, I still think he fits the Yankees perfectly. We'll see. I think he's a perfect fit there. We'll see what happens, but I expect Bellinger to start moving here. Oh, what's passing got? Passing. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. What does passing got? Sorry, you know me. I'm always just rambling. Passing. What do we got here? There it is. 4 years, 240. 4 years, 240. And this was from Jesse Rogers. So I'm guessing there was an opt-out in here. I would imagine. Oh, there's a new version of the post. See the latest post? Oh, it's from Jesse Rogers. Kyle Tucker's deal with the Dodgers is 4 years, $240 million. He has after the second year. Oh, look at that. Okay. So they have him for a couple of years. Oh, that's pretty good. Wow. Interesting. Couple of years. Usually we see that first year. Well, look at the Dodgers. Well, they got Tucker here for a couple of years. That's very interesting. Wow. 4 years, 240. Holy cow. $60 million per year. $60 million per year. Everyone's going to say it's an overpay, but you got to, I'm seeing you all in the chat. It's a short-term deal. You got to think about the value of a win, right? If you're looking at a win at around, 10 million, let's say roughly, per win above replacement, Tucker, I think you could see a 5 WAR. So yeah, they are overpaying a little bit. But I think, he's definitely going to make up for a lot of that. I think he could be worth easily around $50 million based off his production alone. And, some organizations out there, they value a win even higher, right? Some organizations, maybe even they go around 11. And, they probably, and you're also factoring in the market, obviously. I mean, I would imagine the Mets, we saw the report, $50 million per year. They had a strong offer out there. So the Dodgers, they had to beat it. So that's what the Dodgers do, man. They can do that. They can just literally come in and be like, hey, how about $60 million per year? You want to do that? You want to come to the Dodgers, help us get a three-peat? Man, oh man. Again, it's going to be a higher AAV because it's a shorter deal. If you got a 10-year deal, he's not getting $60 million per year. Please do not get that mixed up. Please. It's a shorter deal, so it's a higher AAV. You got to remember that there's a big difference there. 10-year deal, he's probably getting around like $40 million per year. All right? So it's because of the short-term deal. I see you in the chat. Angels win. He's not worth it. Stop the cap. Angels win. You got to look more beyond just batting average and how many home runs. He was a 4.5 WAR player last year. It's more than just batting average and home runs. There's other things that come into play there, right? So, yeah, he's been right around a 4.5 to a 5 WAR player every year. So, yeah, combine that, a short-term deal with the market. 4 years, 240. I'm not surprised about that. I don't think anyone should be surprised about that. That's just free agency and how good of a player he is, right? So, good for the Dodgers here, man. Listen, I know a lot of people they're going to hate this. I respect it. Whatever, man. You have built this. You're playing by the rules. They're playing the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So that's where Major League Baseball, they're going to, in the Players Association, if they really want to come to the table next year, right? They got to fix some of this. So I don't even want to say fix, but, I don't know. I'm not an expert on all this, right? But they got to figure something out. If you don't want this to happen, then they got to figure out a different system. I wonder how much of this is going to be deferred. I'm sure there's going to be deferrals. Let's not forget about the deferrals. All teams are deferring money. That's another thing I think comes up in the CBA talks for next year. Is there going to be some kind of a limit when it comes to deferrals? I wonder if you do see something like that. Ken Rosenthal saying that there's also an opt-out after year 3. I mean, yeah. I'm sure there is, but I would imagine Tucker is going to opt out after that second year. Or maybe, another thing to think about too, he's got 2 years there. Maybe they just come to an agreement on a new contract at some point. I mean, they got 2 years. Soto was with the Yankees for a year. I mean, if Soto was with the Yankees for a couple of years, who knows? Maybe could have, maybe that relationship could have gotten built a bit stronger there. Tucker, a couple of years there. Let's see. I see it in the chat. Try TE2X. Dodgers aren't ruining baseball. They just want to win. Don't hate the player, hate the game. They are what they are. This is the Yankees from the late 90s. Trust me, I see all of the complaints. I do. That's how I was with the Yankees. That's how I was. I hated it. The Yankees get A-Rod. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. How do they keep doing this? How do they keep getting away with this? Like Jesse from Breaking Bad always said. Can't keep getting away with this, right? You bring in Gary Sheffield. That next offseason, they bring in Randy Johnson. The Yankees, it was incredible what they were doing. But it was, as a young fan at the time, I hated it. It was awful. So I don't know. We'll see. But Kyle Tucker, 4-year, $240, $60 million per year, opt out after the second year. Let's get back to the free agents here. Let's get back here. My mouse is not working. But yeah, I definitely think this opens up the market for Cody Bellinger. I think things are going to start moving there. I would imagine in the next week. I think Scott Boras is very happy about this. Very happy about this. He's been waiting for Kyle Tucker to come off the board. So that way these teams can start focusing. Now that the Dodgers are out of it, right? Obviously, you're not going to see a reunion with the Dodgers now. But again, Can the Mets step it up here? Could the Blue Jays even turn their attention to Cody Bellinger? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Another thing to think about, too, is could the trade market open up? And I'm sorry to, bring up Draftnik Robbie here, but could someone like Jarren Duran become an option for the Mets? Maybe. I've been coming up with some weird trade scenarios in my head. Could you do something with Jarren Duran and say like Brett Beatty? The Red Sox looking for an infielder, and they got a surplus in the outfield. Could you do something like that, right? Where maybe the Mets go with someone different in the infield there. Oh, you could put Jorge Polanco at first base. Vientos at third. I'm not sure how the defense is going to look, but I don't know. Maybe Jarren Duran could be an option there. I've been wondering if Brett Beatty could be an option. I've been seeing his name coming up in trade reports, trade rumors. I think the Marlins. So I don't know. I'm not sure how heavily the Mets are shopping him. Maybe. We'll see. Could the Mets maybe turn their attention to someone like Brendan Donovan? Could he be a fit there? Donovan can go out to the outfield. He can play some other positions too. He would be mostly in the outfield for the Mets, but maybe he could be an option. You got Lindor leading off, Brendan Donovan hitting second, Soto batting third, Polanco hitting cleanup, Semien batting fifth. I think that could be pretty good for the Mets. Maybe Brendan Donovan could be an option there. So look out here. I expect the Mets to do some kind of a pivot. Do they? Here's another thing too. I'm also gonna temper expectations of Mets fans. It's David Stearns, right? Kyle Tucker. That's Kyle Tucker, right? Just because, for example, sorry to bring up my Red Sox again, but, you look at the Red Sox. They went after Juan Soto. Well, they didn't, they were offering around that $700 million mark. Well, did they go out there and go use that $700 million elsewhere? Well, no, right? Because that's Juan Soto money. In this case, does David Stearns, the money that he was willing to give up for Tucker, does he still go use that in a different way? Or does he go get creative and, comes up with some different options there? We'll see. I'm definitely looking out for what the Mets do next. I think they could go out into free agency for Bellinger, perhaps. You got some other options out there. Could Harrison Bader, could you do some kind of a reunion with him? Possibly. I don't know. Could they even, another thing, I'm thinking on the fly. If they were to trade, let's say they go after Jarren Duran. They move Brett, maybe they move Brett Beatty in a deal. Could they go after, Eugenio Suarez to play third base? I don't know. I could see Stearns getting creative like that. Maybe. Probably not, but, just an idea, just something to think about. But, David Stearns, I'm always curious about him because he's always looking to do things outside the box. And you've seen that this offseason. He's really navigated his way to kind of turn over this roster. We'll see. I will say that, getting back to the Blue Jays here, I'm also very curious about the Blue Jays. Let's see what ends up happening. I do think the Blue Jays are in a very good spot as of right now. I think they still could make a run at Bichette possibly to come back. They were really willing to give that big money to bring in Tucker. Let's see if Bo Bichette ends up maybe coming back. Maybe we see a reunion. I know Blue Jays fans, they've been wanting that for a long time. I don't know. Or could they turn their attention to other options? We'll see. If we're looking at outfield option, I don't know if they go after Bellinger. There's been some connections between the two in the past. Or, could they go after, say, I don't know, Harrison Bader or something like that? I don't know. We will see, ladies and gentlemen. We will see. I do think we had a super chat. Let's see what we got going on here. I'm going to wrap things up here in just a few moments. So if you do want to drop a super chat right now, definitely drop one down below. Let's see. I'm just going to make sure. Let me go here. All right. So we had. Here we go. All right, we had this one. Carlos, he said the CBA talks are going to get ugly. Carlos, thank you for this. 4 years, 240. Yep. And Carlos, one more time. 4 years, 240. Oh, okay, opt out. Thank you for that, Carlos. I didn't see those super chats earlier. I apologize about that. I do appreciate you trying to help, my friend. Nick, what's going on, my friend? If the Mets settle for Cody, Jason Bay, Bellinger, I'm going to freak out. Listen, Nick, I loved Jason Bay on the Red Sox, my friend. Jason Bay, man, oh man. I miss Jason Bay from 2009, man. 2008, he was great in the second half. He was awesome. But then he just fell off of the Mets, man. It's sad to see. Could Bellinger be the same thing? I don't know. That's why I feel like the Yankees, he fits so well at Yankee Stadium, man. Carlos, what do we got here? Definitely good to see Major League Baseball closing that deferred money loophole by limiting how much you can defer as a team, not just by on a specific contract. I agree. I do wonder if you could see something like that, like putting a certain limit on what you can do. You know, that's gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be very interesting. I do expect something to happen with that deferred money. We'll see. What do we got here, Jason? How we doing, my friend? $1.99. Thoughts on my Giants offseason? Hope we get Nico. I'll be honest. I think getting back to Brendan Donovan, I think he's a much better fit for the Giants, right? Because they have a couple of holes there, or a couple of spots they could improve. You got second base, Casey Schmidt, as of right now. Kind of subpar numbers last year. And then out in right field, Luis Matos, as of right now. So I feel like you could have an upgrade either or. But with Brendan Donovan, the good thing about him is he can play either. He can play second base. He can play right field. I love Brendan Donovan for the Giants. Nico Hoerner, for me personally, I think he should I think the Cubs should keep him. I think they should try to extend him. I actually wonder if the Cubs try to move Matt Shaw. It's very interesting because Hoerner's so good. But Shaw, he has so much more control despite the inconsistent rookie year. But Shaw has a lot of upside. We've also seen some reports about Shaw, coachability kind of being a thing. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I wonder which way the Cubs go there. Hoerner is just so good for the Cubs, you know. My gut feeling is, I could be wrong, Hoerner, they end up hanging on to him and Shaw. Shaw's in more of a utility role. And they just make it work. Right, and then Hoerner, if he ends up leaving in free agency, Shaw just goes over to second base after that. So that's the way I feel like the Cubs are going to go. We'll see. We will see. Carlos, how you doing, my friend? Love the show. Go Red Sox. We can defeat the Dodgers. Listen, I am, here's Draftnik Robbie coming in. Garrett Crochet, Ranger Suarez, Sonny Gray. Oh, man, what a 1-2-3. Bring on the Dodgers. Bring on the Dodgers. We might not be able to hit all that much. We got a few guys there, right? I'm very excited about Roman Anthony. Roman Anthony, MVP season coming on in. I know you hate that statement, but you know it's coming. Roman Anthony. The Roman Empire is here, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, excuse Draftnik Robbie. But, hey, for the Red Sox, yeah, I'm hopeful. We'll see. They need to add one more bat. They need to do something. Could Isaac Paredes be an option there? We'll see. Brendan Donovan, could he be an option possibly? I'm not sure. But everybody, I am going to wrap it up right there. I'm seeing some people starting to trickle on out. I'm sure there's other streams out there that are, my goodness, I am so cut off here. Let me fix that. That's a little better. But listen, I'm gonna do a bit of a humble brag here. I called it. Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers. My original free agent predictions. I felt good about it. I still felt good about it in my updated predictions. I felt good about it all along. I'm sure a lot of other people did too, but you started to see a lot of noise for the Blue Jays and Mets at some point, right? People were thinking, maybe not the Dodgers. Maybe they're good. I thought it all along, man. I was saying, just wait. I was even just texting someone today. Look out for the Dodgers, man. They can come in at the last second. What do you know? Look what happened. So, Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers, man. The Dodgers, I think, have a great chance at a three-peat. Man, oh man. If there is ever a team since the Yankees that could go for a three-peat, I'm looking at the Dodgers. Man. They're going to be very tough to beat in the National League and in all of Major League Baseball. But in the end, you don't win the World Series in the offseason. You got to go win it out in the field. Let's see if Kyle Tucker helps get that third World Series. We'll see. Everybody, if you can, hit that like button for me on the way out. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 60K by opening day. So please hit that like button and the subscribe button for us. Come join us along for the ride. We're trying to get to 60K. Everybody, go have yourself a great night. I'll talk to you next time. I was about to hit the wrong button. You know what? I'm just going to disappear.